Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Porkys is a 1981 comedy film that was written and directed by Bob Clark. It's about the escapades of teenagers in 1954 at the fictional Angel Beach High School in Florida. Against the backdrop of sunny mid-1950s Florida, Pee-wee, the sexually frustrated student of Angel Beach High, and his band of equally hormone-driven classmates have finally come up with a foolproof plan to lose their virginity. On the other side of the town, in a small alligator-infested part of the Everglades, Porky's Honky Tonk Strip Club has everything the boys need. But their dream turns quickly sour, and only revenge can right the wrong. Now the humiliated, exploited, and still virginal teenagers embark on a mission to get back at Porky, risking life and limb to give him a dose of his own medicine. The writer and director Bob Clark gathered material for the movie from over a 15-year period of his life. The story is a composite of things that he had collected from his male classmates and people from his generation, along with their personal memories of growing up in high school. He compares himself closest to Pee-wee, Billy, and Tommy, and other characters were based on real friends of his that he went to high school and college with. This movie was the 5th highest grossing film from 1982 in the North American box office, and it was the highest grossing movie in Canada for over 24 years. In the U.S., for 8 weeks straight, it was the #1 film, and was second for about 16 weeks to the prominent film from that time, which was Steven Spielberg's E.T., which held the #1 receipts for the box office. This American-looking movie was produced entirely by a Canadian outfit and was essentially a Canadian production through and through, although it was financed by an American company, and it was shot entirely in Florida. The now famous actress Kim Cattrall took a small role in the film because she needed the money, and was pretty much horrified when she saw the movie poster with her name at the top. People told her that it was going to end her career, and she felt that way too, because her part was so sexualized in the movie. She went on to own this part, where she was given the name of Lassie because of her howling when she had sex. Despite the movie having a well-deserved reputation as a raunchy sex comedy, director Bob Clark later noted that the only reason that he was able to direct the far more wholesome film, A Christmas Story, which has now become a perennial classic, was all allowed because of the clout that he had received after the success of this film. Clark had gotten the idea to make the film in 1972. He teamed up with Roger Swaybill on the film Breaking Point. When Clark fell ill with mononucleosis in 1979, he dictated the story of Porkys to Swaybill, who then went on to write a draft of the script. Every studio in Hollywood turned down the project, but he eventually obtained financing from Melvin Simon Productions. The movie made its way to Canada to obtain government tax benefits. This all meant that Clark, who was an American, got sole screen credit as the writer, but Swaybill was reimbursed with a 6-figure sum and was co-writer on the sequel. It seems incredible to realize that Porkys, which earned more than $200 million worldwide, was done as a tax shelter, but that's the way it was. Alex Karras, who played the sheriff in the film, and Susan Clark are married, and they'd worked together on numerous occasions and numerous productions. This is the second film that they had worked together in the same year. The first being Nobody's Perfect. Upon the movie's release, it was viewed as a likable, lowbrow coming-of-age film, but the critical response was more negative since then. Most of the criticism came from them objectifying women in the movie. But that's what makes it funny. This is a funny film. It's a comedy, and you laugh the majority of the time you're watching it. Another subplot of the film is the Coach Brackett, Coach Honeywell interlude that happens in the upstairs locker room. The movie takes Kim Cattrall's character and builds up the anticipation of why they call her Lassie. And once they get into the equipment room, Coach Brackett quickly finds out that Honeywell is turned on by the smell there. This leads to the pair having an interlude in the room with Honeywell howling like a dog, thus revealing to us why she is called Lassie. In 2002, Howard Stern acquired the remake rights and had long hoped to produce a remake of the film. This potential remake ran into legal trouble in 2011 when two other production companies stepped forward claiming that they owned the rights to the film. In 2013, the parties reached a confidential settlement and agreed to dismiss the claim. Since the terms of that settlement remain confidential to this date, we don't know whether it allows Stern to do a remake at all. The film has had quite a few remakes already. The first two Porkys were directed by Bob Clark and were produced by Harold Greenberg. Following the success of this film in North America and Europe, they did a sequel called Porkys 2 the next day. That was released in 1983. It was poorly received by the critics and was less of a commercial success than the original. Bob Clark didn't want to make another film in the series, so director James Comack made the third film that's part of that saga. It's called Porky's Revenge, and it was the worst received of the series. Now, the most classic scene is the shower scene in the girls' locker room. Originally, that scene was much more graphic, and it actually shows Tommy putting his thing through the wall into the shower on the other side. But they had to cut it out to avoid an X rating. That shot is said to be hilariously funny. The joke was that it looked like a snake coming out of the ground, and it captured the girls' reactions when it happened, because they viewed it as a pathetic-looking little thing. Everyone thought it would bring down the house with laughter. They thought it was hysterical when they did it and not pornographic at all. It was exactly what the director wanted. It was silly and pathetic. But in order to not get a more strict rating that would commercially wreck the film, they had to cut it out. Take some time and go back and watch this funny film. It's truly a classic. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.